Hello everybody and welcome back to Mining Modern. I'm Corbin Hosler, as always with CoolStuffInc. And this is mono white tokens. You might remember black white tokens from back in the day. Really classic Magic deck going back a long way. Early Modern, it was an incredible deck, but as we have seen now with this mono white deck taken to a top 32 finish by, I want to make sure I get this right, Exile on Magic Online, taking this mono white token set to a top 32 finish at the Modern Championship qualifier last week. So we don't have Bitter Blossom, we don't have Thoughtseize, but what we do have are these new white cards they've printed for a deck like this. Venerated Loxodon, the Guilds of Ravnica card, can Voke, you tap all those tokens, they get bigger, you get a 4/4 out of the deal for cheap. This is a new one, Force of Vigor out of Modern Horizons. If it's not your turn, you can exile a white card rather than pay its mana costs. Flash creatures you control get +1/+1. That pumps the team, and the team is a lot of tokens. Look at this. We start things off with Legion's Landing. We've got Gather the Townsfolk. That'll make 2, sometimes 5. Intangible Virtue to pump them. More tokens with Raise the Alarm and Servo Exhibition even. We're going to use Unbreakable Formation to pump them and protect them. The classic Spectral Procession. 3 tokens that fly for 3 mana here using the hybrid. We'll just pay 3 white. And then rounding things out, old Battle Screech. This card also Modern Horizons. Look, this deck just does what it does. It goes wide. It hopes that it's fast enough. It hopes that its tokens can get in there and end an opponent before they get rid of us. Because outside of these Path to Exiles, we have nothing in the way of interaction in the main deck. And that's fine, I guess. That's what we're going to roll with here. We do have interaction in the sideboard in the form of the Conclave Tribunal's removal. Rest in peace, Damping Sphere, of course. These are devastating against the correct decks. Worship is an absolute game ender. Some decks just literally cannot beat a Worship plus a stream of creatures. And Auriok Champion when you need protection from black and red. So everybody, that is the deck. It's mono white tokens. The lands, we've got a couple cool ones. We'll see if they come up. Shefet Dunes to pump the team. Windbrisk Heights to get a free spell. And a bunch of Horizon Canopy type lands to cycle through the deck. So mono white tokens here on Mining Modern, everybody. I'm Corbin Hosler. Let's jump right into the games. All right, we're going to see just how wide we can go here. We're on the play, and, well, I have to say, I think that this is a keep. I don't know. We're going to figure this deck out as we go here, but look, we get set up the Windbrisk Heights on the first turn here. After that, we have, and that is certainly some stuff. I assume we're going to want to force a Virtue out of that, but look, we're obviously going to need to draw a land at some point here, but next turn we can go Servo Exhibition. After that, we can go Legion's Landing. We have access to the Loxodon. And the thing is, I can play this Force of Vigor, exiling the Battle Screech or something like that, depending on how things go here. And our opponent, Blooming Marsh Pass, that's not attacking our hand. That seems fairly safe for us, and there's a land. All right, well, I guess in that case, let's just be mana efficient as possible and play out the Servo Exhibition. Now, this doesn't look like much of a modern card, I grant you that. 2 mana sorcery speed for 2 1/1s that, by the way, are also weak to artifact destruction. Not typically modern playable, but hey, this deck certainly did put up a great finish, so we are giving it a shot here on Mining Modern. That's what we do. And between you and me, there's not that many sweet decks anymore in Modern, thanks to just the power creep up. A lot of the you know, more niche stuff just gets overrun when you try to do cool stuff with it. So I have to say I was very excited to see a Servo Exhibition in the top 32. Now, we have all the lands we need at this point. Our opponent on the Steel Overseer over here, so some kind of Hardened Scales deck. Now let's see what we can do. That's a good question, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess the play has to be to Legion's Landing here, make our token, and then play this Venerated Loxodon, tapping all 3 creatures, which I think is pretty good, I have to say, because this is going to grow the team, going to give us the 4/4 Loxodon. Just like that, I say just like that, it's modern, it's not really that impressive, but hey, it's turn 3, we have 10 power in play spread across 4 bodies, meanwhile our opponent with a Steel Overseer and nothing else. So now I have to remember, actually, I believe on there, depending on how we want to go about this, I suppose, I was going to say on their instep, I want to play this Force of Virtue, exiling the Battle Screech. Then on my turn, I want to attack. I want to activate the Windbrisk Heights, play the other Force of Virtue, and then I'm attacking for, I believe it's 18 at that point. Now, alternatively, of course, I could just play the Battle Screech. And now that I see that my opponent is coming out with the Hangerback Walker here, I think we probably want to get... Well, I say that. That's going to make a bunch of flying blockers. This is not the easiest decision ever, but also I think it'll be okay here. If we untap, play Battle Screech, flashback Battle Screech, and we just have a ton of tokens. Hopefully we would draw a white card so that on their turn we could flash in the Force of Virtue from our hand, then attack, revealing the one, and we'll just have so much. And that only gives them one more turn. I think that that's worth the risk here. We certainly have plenty of lands. All right, let's go ahead and do this. Flash this thing back. This is quite the spell, I have to say. Battle Screech. I believe it was a Pauper All-Star or something back in the days, but barely giving it a shot in Modern even. So my opponent could technically double block here, activate the Steel Overseer, kill it, to put the counters on the Ozolith. That wouldn't be the worst thing for them, but it certainly wouldn't be very good either. And unsurprisingly, they just take it. So we've got flyers. They're at 16. We're going to have the ability to pump them for, I guess it looks like maybe just one. Yeah, this costs too much here. Well, it's going to be a big attack next turn, that's for sure. In fact, we should be able to present lethal to our opponent. But we'll see what they do here. I say that. You know what? We're going to transform the Legion's Landing. So, well, unless this just actually kills us. But there's no hardened scales involved. I'm just trying to think, how many counters can I get on this Hangerback Walker here? With the Ozolith involved, this deck actually gets pretty silly. So, let's figure out our math first. Well, apparently they're going to... Well, we're going to figure it out as we go here. That's a good one. That feels like a very good one. Okay, so suppose we played... I guess we were going to be able to make it work, but because we drew the Virtue, we don't even have to stress about it. But here's what we can do. We can play Intangible Virtue. Then we can attack, transforming Legion's Landing, giving us the ability to activate the other Windbrisk Heights. I guess the only difference is the Force of Virtue would pump the Loxodon, but the Intangible Virtue gives Vigilance. That just has to be better. So I'm go ahead and play this out first here. Then we're just going to crunch on in there with the team. I think it's going to be lethal. But I don't know, I'm not going to... This is their math to do. I'm not worrying about that. That's for sure. I'm going to just get on in there and see what happens. I mean, it's free. Even with the flying, we're not going to die to any crazy crackback, I think, thanks to the vigilance and flying on our creatures here. But depending on what happens, we can... Look, we could cast the Force of Virtue, but probably more likely we will be activating Windbrisk Heights, putting in a Force of Virtue, and then keeping up the ability to sacrifice a Horizon Canopy to draw a card, should we need to. Now, my opponent coming in here with one Fatal Push. I don't know if Fatal Push is getting you out of this one, friend. Let's see. Let's see what they do for blocks. You know, there's something to be said if you're them getting greedy and not blocking. You'd get quite punished for it, but it's something to consider. Now, if they just block with his Hangerback, would they die? If they were to block just that, they'd be taking 8 and 6. That's 14. Yeah, friend, I believe that you're going to die here. Let's cast this Force of Virtue for free beneath the Windbrisk Heights. Thanks to the fact we attacked with 3 or more creatures, we can do that. That makes the team pretty big. And that'll do it. We took a game off Hardened Scales there. And now we figure out how to beat that deck. That is the question. Well, the Conclave Tribunals are probably good. I liked the Battle Screeches, the flying. On the draw, I'm going to cut one, though. They are just kind of factually quite expensive. I don't like the Worship. They're going to go for a giant Walking Ballista and get us anyways, ping down our creatures. I don't love that plan. And the question is something like, Auriok Champion good? It's got protection from the black cards in their deck. Some incidental life gain. That's actually quite a bit of life gain, really. The rest in peace as well. I'm not sure here. Maybe we just run it like this. We cut. I definitely want all these Path to Exiles, that's for sure. Huh. You know, our curve stops so low. 4, we only have, and really just the 2 spells. I wonder what happens if I just tried to cut a land. Like, say, a Shefet Dunes. This might be excessively greedy, but we'll see, I guess. It seems to me that a white weenie deck, which is, you know, kind of essentially what this plays out as, in a slightly different way, can afford 21 lands, especially on the draw. Now, obviously, I say that and get punished with a 1-lander here. Yeah, we'll ship this one. This looks a little better to me. We will throw back a land here. Now, obviously, this hand's got some ground to make up, but it also kind of just matters how we match up against our opponent. They may do things that we can just handle by making a big board of creatures, depending on how fairly they're playing the game. Now, obviously, flooding out, not ideal for us here, but we can raise the alarm, then we can Conclave Tribunal that hardened scales, and hope that what they do here on turn 2 isn't quite so devastating. I say that, turn 3, even we're just actually very far behind. It turns out when your opponent has the turn 1 hardened scales, you're playing that game from behind. Almost makes me wish I had access to some Wraths on the sideboard. Maybe, gosh, the Amonkhet Day-Night card, whatever those were called. The Aftermath card. I'm not going to remember the name, but it could Wrath on one. On the front side did something, and the back side could Wrath from your graveyard, but only creatures with like Power 3 or more, CMC 3 or more. Something that was great for a white deck like this, actually. I can't believe I don't remember what that card's called. Maybe I'll be able to figure it out here. Alright, meanwhile, our opponent has decided on the line and is a lowly Arcbound Worker. Okay. We might even get an opportunity to block that thing. And, well, I guess I probably wouldn't since I want to play this Conclave Tribunal, but it might be an option available to us. That card I was talking about, by the way, the reason I thought it was Night and Day is the card is Dusk to Dawn. It's actually the front side, destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater, and the back side, turn my head sideways here to read, return all creature cards with power 2 or less from the graveyard to play. Well, I was right. It is good in a white weenie deck. Maybe it's actually not so good in this white weenie deck, though, given that we make tokens, not so much creatures. So maybe not that one. I mean, good old Wrath of God might be acceptable. All right, well, we're going to have to make a choice here between the Hardened Scales and the Ravager, but I think I have to get the Hardened Scales. And go kind of crazy here with my token making, at least. Who knows? We might get under 5 life this game. All right, I just feel like we have to hit the scales. I mean, frankly, we're behind regardless. Opponent going scales into Ravager and Worker, missing a land drop over there. I mean, that's great for us, but if their hand is stacked is what that means. Now, I could pump up this soldier at instant speed. Should I really need to, just for the record, but I'm just not really sure what our path to victory is going to be, quite frankly. I have the ability to put 2 more tokens out, pump them all to 2/2s, but I don't know. Arcbound Ravager is Arcbound Ravager, and yeah, I could go for a block here on it. I could put the soldier in front of the Ravager. I could flash out the Force of Virtue, making it a trade, forcing them to throw away the Worker. Then they just end up with a giant Ravager. In theory, we could, you know, in theory, once it's just the Ravager, it's not as bad. Why not? I guess. I mean, you know what? No. On the other hand, I guess just playing a bunch of blockers sort of works similarly. Why not just take the hit now? Put out more blocks for the Ravager. I don't know. I'm feeling pretty far behind. No more lands for us, that's for sure. I guess one more land means we can activate the Shefet Dunes, but in general, this is not ideal, although Venerated Loxodon is a great draw. I believe that means I can gather here Loxodon for big amounts. I mean, look, if our opponent wants to play a fair game on the ground, we might be in. We can do this. Oh, I actually did that wrong. I should have convoked one more creature. No! I wonder if you can overpay, actually. I wonder if I could have convoked a fourth and a fifth. I am new to playing this card. Can't say I played a bunch of white weenie when it was in standard. Not really my type of deck. So we are down a counter there. Hopefully it doesn't come down to that. Meanwhile, our opponent has all the counters in the world. What are they going to do with them here? They've got their colors. We've got a threatening board, especially on tapping, pumping that team. It's going to be a big swing from us. So if my opponent messes around and does anything remotely fair on this turn, they're going to take a big hit. Now, they might be able to overcome it. They've got a Ravager. They've got a Hangerback Walker. They've got whatever the heck else they're about to play. They can get out of this even if things go perfectly for us. But well, that's probably a pretty good one. But my opponent's going to have to do some blocking because we are coming in for a big hit. I could do something silly like swing with one of those creatures. Okay. And the beauty of this thing is it has flash, which is really random. But who knows? Could be the difference right here. Let's see how the heck my opponent figures out these blocks. Now, obviously, the Heliod Suncrown, all of this, it's pretending a Walking Ballista combo kill. So that is the concern. But I don't know. This is a big swing. This is where we get punished for missing that one counter, I think. Let's see what the blocks look like. My opponent knows we have Force of Virtue, so we'll see how ready they are to play around this one. But even still, well, it depends, I guess, if they have a combo kill lined up. That type of thing. They're thinking this one through. Alright, well, it wasn't going to be lethal regardless, was it? Alright, well, let's play it out. See what happens. Hope that it's good enough, really. I mean, honestly, this pushes, yeah, my opponent pushes the onus back onto my opponent, who's going to do all of their Artbound Ravager, Sacrifice, Modular, craziness, and probably end up with a billion counters on a Hangerback Walker. We just have to hope that we've done enough damage to them after this combat that we can poke in for the last couple of points next turn, although I gotta say, I mean, I am pretty scared anytime a Heliod is out. But my opponent is still seemingly thinking this one through, so that's a good thing for us. Gosh, I wish I hadn't missed that counter, though. As it stands right now, we're getting in for what looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh my gosh. Am I really going to miss lethal because of that counter? No, I'm not, because one of these was blocked. Okay, but blocked by the worker. I was like, no! I was counting to 13 when they were 14, but no, the block from the worker means we are still only missing that 1 point, and that won't be the difference here. My opponent going in on the Ravager right now, which is frankly a lot scarier than my opponent going in on the Walker, because that means they're setting up for a Walking Ballista kill. We've got him down to 3. Let's see if it's good enough. You know, the thing is, Heliod does also just have an ability. They can pay 2 mana to give this thing lifelink, which may or may not be relevant. I suppose we'll find out. Now, the good news for us is almost all of our creatures are lethal. If we hit a land, all of our creatures are lethal because we would be able to just activate the Shefet Dunes just to get one more. Just to make sure one gets in. The fact my opponent hasn't just slammed anything onto the table also means that we might not be dead. Now, the worst thing for us would be land Ballista. We would just, I think, actually be dead. But I gotta say, they probably would have played that. Yeah, who knew that just old schools? I got a bunch of 1/1s sideways. Glorious Anthems was a modern viable strategy. It's 2020. Anything can happen, I guess. Because this is kind of neat. I wonder how many times it comes up, the Force of Virtue, the ability to exile. It's so weird. They put this, oh my gosh, we won. We won with mono white tokens, everybody. That was incredible. I did not expect that at all. What a match. I'm sorry, let me try to walk through that. I was saying this is a cycle of Modern Horizons, and it really makes sense on some of the others that are removal or counter spells, that sort of thing. It doesn't necessarily make sense on a Glorious Anthem type effect. You don't really see it. I'm not sure there's a card like this that had flash before, but it's a weird clause on this card, but it also makes it this odd little combat trick. But in this case, in this deck, almost a combo-ish piece. You really just are cheating the mana to just get your creatures in there for more damage. That's a neat little wrinkle I was certainly not aware of coming in. But that was a great start to this deck. That'll show you some power right there, just taking it down against Hardened Scales. Good match. All right, we're on the play here, but this is a mulligan. Only one land in that one. This, however, well, it looks like a keep. It's probably not the most incredible hand ever, but we'll keep it. We'll ship back one of these Force of Virtues. We've got removal. We've got the Battle Screech to make the tokens. I mean, look, this hand makes 6 tokens, right? That's just as it stands. That's 12 power with the Force Virtue. We've even got removal here for this Goblin Guide. So, all in all, not a terrible hand. Now, maybe our opponent will hook us up with a land here. It did not. It's a Spectral Procession. Now, it feels pretty bad to path this thing, but my mana's spoken for next turn. I don't think I can just start taking damage from the red deck. As much as it sucks to give them an extra landed, it truly does. I think it had to be done there. Now, the good news is that after sideboarding, I have access to those Auriok Champions that not only do they have protection from black and red, meaning you can't lightning bolt it, you gain a life whenever another creature comes into play, and our deck puts a lot of creatures into play. So regardless of what happens in this one, post sideboard, we know what we're looking for. Lava Mans, huh? Well, that's not hugely aggressive. And the Eidolon. So the Eidolon actually, is always a concern. The amount of damage it does stacks up very quickly. All of that said, honestly, wouldn't have even been that much of a problem for us if we just hit a land there. I believe the converted mana cost of Spectral Procession is 6. I could be wrong on that. Or maybe it's 3 when you cast it for 3. I don't really know. Regardless, I would have taken the damage, but then everything else in my hand's a 4-drop. We would have just been completely set to go. But as it stands now, well, maybe a little less so. I guess the hope here, when we talked about Force of Virtue, we're going to hope it comes up clutch right now. Our opponent showing us an Intangible Virtue. Well, in that case, I'm definitely exiling one of these. We're not playing this anytime soon. And let's go ahead and block with one of these tokens. Actually, I suppose I should block with both of them. Just to guarantee we get this Goblin Guide off the field. We're still a long way from winning this one. My opponent can use the Lava Man to kill the other token. So be it, right? We're playing against a burn deck. We're at 19 life on turn 4. Could be worse. Now, unfortunately for us, we are taking a big hit to play out this Intangible Virtue, but we have a plan to win. It's draw a planes, cast a Spectral Procession, make 3 2/2 flying Vigilant tokens, and hope to win somewhere in the 4 to 6 life range. But we'll see. There's only so many turns you can miss land drops against mono red. Well, any burn, I suppose, not actually mono red. And this is why. Here comes the spike. We're at 10, they're at 11. Oh my gosh, we have been incinerated. Won't be beating this one. It's got trample. This card is silly. I don't know if this is a good version of burn, playing these incinerators. This may be the version of burn now. I don't know. I still haven't figured this one out. This is now the second time I've played against it in burn. I can't tell if it's just the most insane thing ever or just an expensive card in a bad top deck in a deck that can't have bad top decks. So, I don't know. I do know that we're not winning that game, though. Onto the sideboard. Those Auriok Champions in there. I guess get the Worship in there, actually. I think that's problematic for my opponent. What do we cut? I gotta cut some stuff here. Honestly, not sure. Haven't played the deck before. Don't know what to keep and what to cut. Huh. I don't know. Maybe I'll cut the Unbreakable Formation. I mean, my opponent's not wrathing us. Just draw an Auriok Champion, make the game easy. Oh, that's an easy mulligan. I guess Oh, man. Alright, well. If we're gonna keep 5, this might be the 5 to keep. We've got the Auriok Champion. We've got, I mean, the Intangible Virtue doesn't do much right now, but I mean, this hand, despite mulliganing to 5, is actually any creature spell, token spell here works with the Auriok Champion. This hand could work out for us, unless I suppose our opponent just goes Rift Bolt, turn 2 Incinerator on us. That would be pretty rough. But here's a Silent Clearing for us. You know what? That gets us 3/4 of the way to the Battle Screech. It then cycles later. I mean, this is the type of hand that if our opponent can't come up with a clean, easy answer to this Auriok Champion, or I guess play a 6/6 Trampler on turn 2, we can really develop our board and pull this one out. And yeah, here we go. Rift Bolt to the face. Yeah, this is dumb. I just made my mind up. This is dumb. We might be able to beat it. I don't know. Maybe not. Certainly not a good draw there. Well, I say that. It's not the end of the world once we find these tokens, but this stupid thing has trample too. This card should have cost red. Because that's just, I mean, turn 2 6/6s while also dealing 6 damage to your opponent. I'm sorry, I guess it was turn 3, but that's crazy. It's not unfair or anything too good for Modern, but it is kind of that RNG type feeling where like, yeah, my opponent high rolled where they had the Rift Bolt and the Incinerator. That's unfortunate. And that might be 2 games in a row on us here. But land like that makes everything look a little better. Might still be dead. We'll see. Gonna gain 4 life this turn. Hopefully, anyways. I guess our opponent could Skullcrack us or something. As we get... Well, Lightning Bolt's on a Skullcrack. What is this? Deals how much damage? Oh, they get to kill our creatures? Are you kidding me? This thing's a sorcery, too. I can't even get him back. This card is broken. Yuck. I'm just kidding. It's not broken. Does seem pretty good, though. I mean, frankly, that was really painful because I wanted to flash this back, be at 10 life, and then hope to not die. I don't really see how we're not dead here. Wouldn't have hated to draw a Path to Exile at some point on this one. Kind of rough. I gotta say, though, for a mulligan to 5, we put up a great fight here and frankly, almost took it down. We're dead now. This thing kills our bird and tramples over for lethal, but all right, fair enough. Good match. All right, let's try not to get burned out of this one. How about that? We're on the draw. I guess it's a keep. It's got a 2/3/4. It's very slow, but you know, hey, if you consider the Windbrisk Heights as a turn 1 play, it's got a turn 1 play even. It's certainly not a hand I think we can mulligan, even if it's not one we're super excited about. We'll see what our opponent's up to here. Stomping Ground into, what is it, an Arbor Elf? It's a Shriekhorn. Ah, Dredge, huh? Well, we got a sideboard full of Rest in Peace for you, friend. This hand might be a little slow to deal with Dredge, but I guess at the same time I say that, we can block Dredge for a long time. For days. Let's see what we have with the Windbrisk Heights here. This is one of my favorite cards, I have to say. What is the answer here? It's probably the Virtue. This is one of my favorite cards. I mean, this is a part of my favorite Modern deck. It's funny, actually. I say that. This is a part of my favorite Modern deck. My Naya Breach Trap deck, you know, Through the Breach, Summoning Traps, Windbrisk Heights, all these ways to cheat Emrakul into play. I call the Emrakul deck. My opponent said, I played turn 1 Windbrisk Heights. My opponent goes, oh no. But it's not that deck. I love that deck, but this is a cool deck too, this tokens deck here. And I guess this seems like a reasonable-ish... I mean, my opponent's not just obliterating me yet with Dredge. It's the Shriekhorn into no Dredge creature, as a matter of fact. So, all right, that's the way you want things to look. On the draw against Dredge, look, that is a very slow place to be against a deck with one of the best Game 1 win rates in the entire format. But this is kind of what we want. If our opponent whiffs on these next two from the Shriekhorn here and their upkeep when they go to mill two more, they got a haggle, so that might save that problem. All right, well, they have haggled their way into it with the Stinkweed Imp. So it does begin, but, I mean, I guess all things considered, that was kind of slow from a Dredge, right? We're going to go Raise the Alarm, Unbreakable Formation, Battle Screech, Flashback Battle Screech, have Force of Virtue. I don't know if that's going to be good enough, but our opponents are really not doing anything. They're just truly doing nothing. I think they need lands over there. Meanwhile, the alarm has been raised. All right, well, we certainly have all the lands we're going to need in this game. Do I really want to do this? I guess I do, just 'cause it's not doing anything else. It's going to be one of the rare turns where we get damage in, I think. I basically plan on counting on these Battle Screech tokens to go the distance later after the board gets gummed up. So if we can just keep drawing token creatures, though, we might be able to... our opponent hit a Creeping Chill, which is annoying, but beatable. No Narcomoebas, and that's the big thing for us. That keeps the prize amalgams off the battlefield. Alright, pass the turn back. Next turn we can Screech. We got Virtue. We have all the Virtues, I guess. So we have the Force of the Virtue, but also the Intangible Virtues. So our tokens are going to hit for large amounts, and frankly, we can make our tokens bigger these than amalgams. Our opponent can still get there via conflagrates and stuff like that, but if the plan of spamming the board with 1/1s and 3/3s, if we just spam the board with 4/4s, that might work. And our opponent with this slow Dredge draw here is opening the window for that. All right, well, let's see what happens. There's the Hugs. And it's a pretty stocked graveyard. That is all 4 prized amalgams and a blood gas, and there's the land. So, well, that might have been the turn they needed. They had a slow start, but that's a pretty disastrous turn 3. If you're us on this side, you're gonna now be facing down, what is that, 16 power of creatures. I mean, Battle Screech will put some out there though. And play out. I think we're just going to be a turn behind, though. I think we're going to be one turn too slow. Probably we're supposed to win the dice roll here. Yeah, it's a lot of them. Sure thing. All right, let's see what we can do. A Servo Exhibition, you say? I wish I could attack with 3 creatures this turn. I don't think there's any point to do anything but the Battle Screech play here, and I don't know if it's going to be good enough, but I think this is kind of where we're at. You know, that Servo Exhibition is not the worst draw in the sense that I can play a Force of Virtue on their turn. Now, the problem for us is going to be that, you know, we just need time. All we need is time to deploy these Anthems to make our team bigger than theirs, but all 4 prize amalgams on turn 3 make that a little difficult. They started slow, but they sure picked it up. I guess it was their turn 4. So, I mean, it's not that it was too fast, but as it turns out for us, we're likely to just be 1 turn slow here. I can't really take much of a hit and still have any way to win the game, but that's what we're going to have to try to figure out. So our opponent thinking about an Abrupt Decay here, a Assassin's Trophy. Okay, well, they're going to play Life from the Loam. It's a pretty slow way for them to go about this, but it's going to get there for them eventually. They got there last turn, really. All right. Now, what could I do here? I could double block 1, maybe. No, I guess the line would be Yeah, double block one of these, play the Force of Virtue, exiling the Servo Exhibition, maybe? Yeah, I think that's just going to have to be what we do here. And I think the blocks are actually pretty straightforward. I think we have to block like this. Take the 11 and hope that that's good enough. We lose to a lot here, but, you know, I say that at the same time, we turn the corner somewhat quickly here. I mean, look, if we were to actually draw Intangible Virtue, that would be pretty good, right? That would be lethal. Do we have lethal as is? I'm untapping with a lot of creatures here. That's 6, 9, 12. We have 12 power in play. Forgotten Cave doesn't beat us. Are we just going to steal a win? No, not the Creeping Chill. Anything but the Creeping Chill. Oh, no. Oh, I don't think I can do 18. Oh, that was so painful. Wow, what a blowout. Let's see what we hit. At the Exile, probably too little too late. Alright, so what happens if I were to just play this in attack? I guess let's do the math first. I have currently 6 plus 6. That's 12, and I would add 5. Oof. I would conveniently have the ability to do 17 points of damage to my opponent. That would be 8 and 9. Yeah, that's 17. Alright, so that plans out. I could attack with the 3 birds and flip the 4. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Swing with the 3 birds. Play the Intangible Virtue out from Windbrisk Heights. They will still be tapped. There's no way around that. However, we would deal 9 to our opponent, putting them at 9. We have 2 blockers. Our opponent has 5 attackers. They swing in. We put 2 soldiers in front of the prized amalgams, path the other amalgam, take 2 from the Narcomoebas, go to 1, swing back in the air with lethal. And if our opponent holds back, well, then we're not dead. And we then have our own Flying Vigilant attackers that we can make bigger than the amalgams. So, okay, I think it checks out with what's on board here. What about, you know, our opponent might also Ghost Quarter us before we move to combat, but we'll at least have the opportunity to know. Now, all right, I don't see a Conflagrate in there. I think that's the line. I don't know that I have a better one. I also even get to crack the Silent Clearing with this line. Let's see how things go. It does not take much for our opponent to beat us, but we at least have a path to victory here. It also makes these soldiers bigger. And the thing is, our opponent just has so many cards in hand, it's only going to take 1 removal spell for them to get us, unfortunately. So I think that's what's going to happen here. This was so close. We were just 1 land drop short here, or 1 point away. If our opponent had just fetched, just done themselves a little more damage. Meanwhile, they're going to Ghost Quarter their own Dakmor Salvage. Okay. Oh, there's a Bloodghast. Yeah, that'll do it. I mean, honestly, we did not have a lot of chance to win. We're going to beat Bloodghast anyways. Even if they can just get more. They can get a Conflagrate. There's really, I don't think there's any way for us to win. It was close, though. GG. All right, onto the sideboard, though. Things get a little better for us. To the tune of 4 Rest in Peace. What else do we want? Is Worship good? Oh, Worship's good. My opponent's just going to have a bunch of... I'm sorry, I'm trying to think this one through here. I think I just kind of cut down on everything. This is a game of sideboard cards. I don't want to cut too many of them, though, is the thing. I have to make sure I still have the right amount of tokens involved. So let's give this a shot. Let's just find some rest in peace. That was a close game, though. On the play, I think we would have got there. On the draw, I don't think we had any way to there. That Bloodghast. Thing is, they could have done all that on their turn. The Bloodghast would have haste since we were less than 10 life. And that would have messed up our carefully planned math. Could I have swung with just 2 of them instead? Yes, and had an additional blocker, but my opponent just needs 1 more Bloodghast at that point. Really hard for them to have up to 8 cards in their hand there and not have something to get us. So, fair enough. On to game 2, though. I've got the rest in peace. Now, the thing is, the reason I brought the Worships in, my opponent's going to expect rest in peace. They're playing against a mono-white deck, and they're playing Dredge. But they only have so many Nature's Claims and Assassin's Trophies and Abrupt Decays and whatever, right? So the idea is that, you know, maybe we can slam a Worship later on in the game, like with this hand, and really stop them, and just stop them cold, right? If they can't deal with our creatures, they just possibly can't even beat a Worship. Now, they have the enchantment removal to do that, but, you know, it gets taxed between the rest in peace and the Worships. So, unfortunately, in this hand, we have just the one side of that, and the side I really prefer less. I'd rather have a rest in peace now than a Worship, but it is a keepable hand. We've got token makers, we've got an Anthem, we've got a Worship, and hey, now we're wide open drawing rest in peace. Just gonna make it exciting when we draw it. Not yet, though. Alright, let's get them townsfolk gathered. I remember an old standard deck. I believe, trust me, I tried to toy around with it in Modern as well. The creeping chilling begins. It was a cool Gather the Townsfolk deck, though, where you would use this and a card called Thatcher Revolt. I think it was like a 3/1 human or something, that when it came into play, you got humans that would attack. I'm going to look that one up real quick. It was a really cool standard deck that I tried to make work in older formats and just couldn't quite get there. But just a second, let's figure this out. Our opponent is Upkeep, hitting the Stinkweed Imp. Go figure. Meanwhile, Thatcher Revolt. Yeah. Oh, okay. It's a 3-mana sorcery. Create 3 1/1 red human tokens with haste. Sack them at the next instep. This was the precursor. You'd play Champion of the Parish into Gather the Townsfolk into Thatcher Revolt, and you'd be attacking for check it, the math, a lot of damage. So that was kind of the thing then. That was what I always tried to make work, because that was a pretty sick curve. Now, obviously, the Modern Humans deck sort of perfected that whole thing. Oh my gosh. Another Shriekhorn. The Ox of Agonis. Show me land or rest in peace, please, deck. Would appreciate it. Alright, well, there's a land. The start. Maybe I should have saved that in case we happen to have below 5, but that's fine. I mean, I think the line is to play around the Worship and hope that our opponent doesn't have removal for it, right? Hope that they have the Abrupt Decays of the world rather than the Nature's Claims of the world. And the Creeping Chills get pretty annoying, I won't lie. I really hate this card. It is... I like the design space, but what it shows, and this is interesting from a design perspective, it shows how freaking dangerous that space is, because this is a pretty innocuous effect. If you mill it, they lose 3, you gain 3. It only hits opponents. So sometimes you're going to have to draw it, and that's not an effect you want to pay 4 mana for. It seems fair, right? But, gosh, you slot it into a Dredge deck, and just speeds the deck up by a turn in a format where that turn is all important. It's just... it's really, really problematic design space. Anything in the game that cheats resources, whether that resource is mana, whether that resource is attack steps, turns, card draw, it's most typically broken by cheating mana. And Creeping Chill actually is kind of a sin on 2 different levels. It's a sin on the fact that when you mill it, you get to cheat mana. You pay no mana for an effect that's worth, I don't know, at least 2 mana probably, right? But in addition to that, you're cheating a card. You're getting that spell effect. You're getting that Lava Spike, which a burn deck will spend a card on. You're getting that effect for free just by milling it. And as you can see in a Dredge deck, having this in hand because you had the bad luck to draw one doesn't really change how the deck plays out. You almost never lose a game to drawing your Creeping Chills. So, yeah, I don't know. To take that for what you will. from the design angle, but I have to say those are the reasons I'm not a fan of the card Creeping Chill. The fact that Dredge gets me all the time with it, including that last one, probably has just a tiny bit to do with it. Meanwhile, our opponent is discarding their hand, then drawing 3 with this Ox of Agonis Theros Beyond Death edition of Dredge. So, yeah, they're just churning on through there. Now would be a good time to draw Rest in Peace. I mean, they actually are kind of set up where a Rest in Peace would kind of get them. Sure, I will take the 2 from the Bloodghast. All right, let's see if we hit a land here. Last game, they have all the amalgams. This game, only 1, despite having gone through most of the deck. That path is not precisely what we were looking for. Yes, we passed the turn back. Try to survive. Hope that we can Flame Worship and win the game. Our opponent only has 2 cards in hand. It is at least conceivable that those cards aren't enchantment removal. Another Creeping Chill, huh? Guess I'm at 8. Yeah, I mean, 0 mana, 0 cards, 18-point life swing. You got to admire Dredge, though. I actually really, really enjoy Dredge as a deck because I just think it's, frankly, I think it's just very neat that it exists. It exists in this space where it seems like no matter how many cards they ban, no matter what they take away from it, I mean, this is post-Faithless Looting Dredge. Who thought that that would be a thing? And yet, here it is, crushing us anyways. Now, maybe we could have mulliganed a little more aggressively, gone for the Rest in Peace, but heck, this hand looked good. We had Token Makers, a Worship, an Anthem. What more could we ask for? I'd ask for 1 Rest in Peace drawn right now. That's what I'd ask for. And they hit another Amalgam. Well, let's see if they, what they're up to. They're hard casting a Stinky, huh? Sure thing, friend. Alright, let's make some more tokens. I guess I play the Force of Virtue, exiling the Servo Exhibition because it's land or bust, I think. Come on, deck. Oh my gosh, look at that. Well, now we're going to find out what our opponent's card is. Assassin's Trophy gets us. Abrupt Decay, however, does not. You know, Ancient Grudges don't get us. Nature's Claim does. It all depends on what our opponent's sideboard hate is at the moment. I suppose that would do it. And we'll see. They didn't just immediately slam it. Maybe we'll cheese them out with the Worship. Because it does get them. I don't think they can work their way through 5 creatures. And in fact, they're going to loam here. So, okay. All right. Strap in, everybody. This one isn't over yet. All right. Hype. I hope they have an Abrupt Decay in hand. Just getting punished. I say all of this. Look, we're not exactly doing anything close to what you might call winning the game. We're a long way from that. The thing is, I could attack, kind of. They have 3/3s. Their prized amalgams are now prized blockers in the matchup. But, you know, we do have the ability here. We can ship the Canopy back for another card. Hopefully find some flyers. That's, you know, Intangible Virtue, Spectral Procession. I wouldn't hate drawing those 2. Start crunching in there for 9 Vigilance in the air. But it's also conceivable if our opponent just doesn't have an answer in their top 11 cards for Worship, they're just going to lose if they already milled their answer. Which, you know, I don't see anything in here outside of that trophy. I do have a Conflagrate. Spread out. They could try to take down all of our tokens, I guess. All right. Well, ask and you shall receive, am I right? There's a Spectral Procession. That should slam the door shut on my opponent, beating us via killing our creatures anyway. So it's all about this Worship right now, and then I can't do anything to protect it. So for us, this game's really easy. Pass the turn. Do you have an answer to worship? If not, I'll hit you for 6 in the air and we'll try again next turn. Oh no. Welcome to Modern in 2020, everybody. It's a blast zone that they blew up for 1? Question mark? Did they misclick? I don't know what happened, friends. But I'll take it, I guess. Lord knows I've misclicked my fair share of times here on Magic Online. I assume that's what that was. All they had to do was spend the next 2 turns putting 4 counters on this thing, killing us. Now, the problem for us is that they can loam it. So while this bought us some time, did not win us. It does not necessarily change the outcome of the game here. We're going to have to continue to draw well. Now, the good news is we could still just rip a Rest in Peace. That would probably do it. So, oh yeah, sometimes things just work out, right? Look, I've sat here some days, tried to record videos, and just it feels like, oh, I just cannot stop misplaying or cannot stop getting bad luck. And sometimes you just call it. You say, give me Spectral Procession and Rest in Peace. And then you draw Spectral Procession and Rest in Peace. And the danger for my opponent here, why this is so devastating to them, and we win, is that even if they do have a removal for Rest in Peace, it hits everything. So, all right, we did it. We took a game off of Dredge, and we take another. A great question, honestly. They're probably not going to get got by the worship this time around, so we'll see if they can draw an answer. To hopefully the Graveyard Hate, we're going to find the sideboard cards here. That basically played out how we wanted it to. The game got bogged down, but we were able to hide behind a worship, and then that bought us time to find that Rest in Peace. So game 3, we're going to have a little better hand, though. We're on the draw here, and this is a hand I think I'm forced to keep. I understand the risk. I also understand that a third 20 cards out of 53 were about 40% to hit a card, hit a land, and we got 2 shots at it. So, I mean, it's hard to... The downside is obviously there. We just lose the game, look bad, but the upside's there too with this one. We get to go double Rest in Peace. If 1 isn't enough, 2 probably is. So let's just cross our fingers. Hope that luck is on our side here on game 3. That's not where we wanted to start things out. If you're the type for very small victories, there's only 1 land in our top 4, which now means that of the 47 cards, we know 20 of them to be land, or 19 of them to be land. Ever so slightly improved the odds to hit a land here on this turn. This is one of those things, and look, I know I've talked about this on this series before, but this is something I picked up from the pros. Sometimes you just have to accept that you're going to look bad. And I know that's a weird thing to talk about, but the reality is if I don't draw a second land, here I look stupid on the internet. It's a game 3. I put it all on the line here and put it on YouTube, and you're all laughing at me for what a stupid keep. That's fine. I get that. But the thing is, you know, whatever the odds, you have 40% to draw a land, you got 2 shots at it, whatever percentage of the time your success rate there is, and I suspect it's higher than 50%, I think that we win the game where we get to play 2 Rest in Peace in a row. You know, that's just the way I would put that. You don't win every game with 1 Rest in Peace, but I do think you win most games where you have 2 Rest in Peace. So this is just, if we end up being on the, let's say, throw a number out here, say 30% of the games where this doesn't work out, I look bad, but you know what? That doesn't matter. All that matters is that you made the right decision at the time. And I don't know if it was the right decision, but it's a decision that I went with that I think might be correct. And let's see what happens. The answer is we get punished. Yeah, fair enough. It'd be that way sometimes. Now, the good news is we get to play Legion's Landing. So, this is, I mean, honestly, frankly, it's disastrous for us. That was the turn. And that turn was 2, but that was the turn. Look at our opponent's graveyard. There's a Bloodghast, there's an Ox, there's 2 Amalgams. If we slam a Rest in Peace there, we get rid of the Ox for later, we get rid of 2 Amalgams forever. And then what's my opponent going to do? We're going to play another Rest in Peace. The game probably just over if we hit the land by turn 2 there. So Unfortunately, that did not work out, and now Rest in Peace is going to be, as silly as it is to say, turn 3 Rest in Peace will be too slow. Yeah, there's a Creeping Chill I see in there. There's still the Blood Gas. All they have to do, and there's all the amalgams. Okay, cool. Neat. Oh, I'm okay. Yeah. Oh, because they had the Ox come back. Yep. Oh, some of them actually come back. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Some of them actually come back on my instep because of when they hit the graveyard, and now we get a Rest in Peace away 2 of those. Now, oh my gosh, we're still facing down 11 power. But there might be some hope. A bit of lifelink here. We just got to rip lands, but we rip a land on top right now. Get to play a Spectral Procession? That's not the end of the world. We literally might just lose this game to Fair Dredge, though. We hit their graveyard, but they might have just got the little bit of boost they needed by us missing that land drop that just playing fairly, things like this Golgari Thug, might be able to swarm us to death, especially if we miss a land here. Okay, that's not a miss. I don't know, though. I don't know. Well, I guess we play the Spectral Procession. It's unfortunate it cost me life, but that's where we're at. I think this might be okay. I can put the 3 spirits in front of the Ox. Just got to get this thing out of here. Put the Vampire in front of the Golgari Thug. Take 6, go to 2, but that's 3. Then I get to untap into some tokens. It's going to be close. Guess we'll say that. It's going to be close. I got to get this thing out of here, though. Oh, this is a bizarre game right now, I have to say. All right, we're at 3. We need to hit a land. Land, and we're in business. Oh, you know what? That's not a land, but it kind of works. It kind of works here. I really wish I hadn't had to take damage off that silent clearing, though, because I could have put all 3 of these in front of this if I was at 3, taken 3, gone to 1 after the life gain, since it happens simultaneously as the damage. But instead, I don't have that option. I have to figure out some chump block options instead. So this game is still not in a great spot. But it's not over yet if our opponent doesn't have anything. Let's see what we hit here. Raise the alarm. Okay. But here's the thing. I think this is the play. I think we play the Intangible Virtue. Get in for 2. Go to 4. Our opponent attacks. We get a chump. Go to... I guess we lose 3, gain 2. So we're at 3. Then next turn I get to play Raise the Alarm. We just desperately need to hit a 4th land so I can play Raise the Alarm and Intangible Virtue. Now that might not matter here if my opponent has some. That doesn't beat us. That doesn't beat us. I can play Raise the Alarm. No, this silent clearing. I have to take the damage, which means I have to double chump block. No. Well, we got our land. Now we have to hit another. Oh my gosh. How painful. How absolutely painful was this match? We're not dead. That was our land. Now we have to hit a 2-mana token spell here. That's not going to do it. Oh my gosh, if we'd had that last turn. Oh! Oh, wow, what a match. That was very, very close. We are, however, very, very dead. If I'd had that Force of Virtue last turn, we could have made those 3/3s, had an empty board right now. to do whatever we were going to do. I'll do this. I don't think we have any outs at this point, though. Certainly not that. Oh, well. GG's, Dredge. Fair enough. Super close, though. You can see the power of this deck. Let's go take a look at it now, because that was an interesting set of matches. Now, what do I think about this deck as it stands now? What I liked and didn't like. I liked most of the deck, frankly. I think that you can cut I think you need more low drops. And I don't know if there's a 1-drop token maker that would work in this deck, in this slot, outside of Legion's Landing. I'm not sure if anything else fits the bill, but if nothing else, you'd want another 2-drop. This deck, I think, needs to get out onto the board early. I think that you could probably cut a Force of Virtue. It is card disadvantage if you want to flash it out, and if you don't want to flash it out, it's just expensive. And you already have the 4 Intangible Virtues and the Unbreakable Formation, which also will put +1 on your stuff. So right now this deck has 9 ways to pump its creatures, plus the Loxodons. I'm just talking 9 non-creature ways that it will pump its team. I don't think it needs that many. I think you cut one of the Force of Virtues, most likely. You slightly lower the curve that way. You get another 1-drop, or even just add a 3rd Servo Exhibition and just say you're going to be straightforward on that plan. I think that's what I would look at. Sideboard, it's mono white. You do what you can do. It looks like a pretty good sideboard to me. But yeah, overall, pretty happy with this deck. It was a sweet one. Lots of close matches, even if they didn't quite go our way as much as we would have liked. It was a set of matches that I think really did demonstrate the power of a deck that looks nothing like what you'd expect to see succeeding in Modern. And probably, as I look at this list right now, this is probably pretty budget, if I had to guess. None of these cards, the Horizon lands are what? Some money, $10, $15. Everything else here looks very cheap. So this looks like a pretty solid and competitive budget option in Modern as well. So everybody, thank you so much for watching Mining Modern. As always, I'm Corbin Hosler. Reminder that every week I have content out here on Cool Stuff every Thursday, alternating between Mining Modern and Punting Pioneer, where I explore that format. So please subscribe to the channel. Tune in next week. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'll see you later.